I'd like to call the Budget and Public Employees Committee hearing to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Odenberg. I'm sorry, we're on the wrong one, I'm sorry. Alderman Odenberg. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Alderwoman Sanier.
Present.
Alderman Aldrich.
Present.
Vice Chair Boyd.
Present.
Chair Spencer.
Present.
Madam Clerk, you did it backwards.
I know. Thank you.
It was a long fight for these positions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
We have quorum.
We have quorum. And a gavel. Okay. Today, we will first start out with approval of the minutes. We have before us minutes from Monday, January 5th, and Wednesday, June 7th. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from both those two previous meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Odenberg. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanier.
Aye.
Alderman Aldrich.
Aye.
Chair Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Odenberg. We have 5 aye votes.
Thank you. Today we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bills before us. I'm going to take up item number 1 at the end, just to get everybody else out of here. We'll start with item number 2, Board Bill 39, Alderman Volmer. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate. Board Bill 39 is a proposed bill that renews the Gardenside Subdivision Special Business District. Pursuant to Section 71.790 through 71.808 of the revised status of Missouri, setting its boundaries, tax rate, and initial rate of levy, subject to the approval of the qualified voters and bonding authority. So it's simply a SBD that is going to be renewed.
Okay, thank you. When did the SBD first go in?
That I don't know. I do have 2 lawyers behind me. If you would like to speak to Mr. Malone or Mr. O'Connell, they have all the...
Very briefly, when it went in, how it's funded, if you don't mind introducing yourself to the committee. Good morning.
Hi there, Madam Chair. How are you? Tim O'Connell, here individually as a resident and supporter of these bills. It first went in 2020. I've been a resident, is that right? 2000. Excuse me, 2002. I've been a resident since 2005, and it's been renewed at least twice.
I'm sorry, Clerk Spencer, they have to be sworn in?
Ooh, as presenters? Yes, okay. Yeah, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Fair enough.
Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Excellent, thank you. Okay.
First went in 2002. It's been renewed at least 3 times. Is that right? At least 2 other times. It's been very popular among the residents, and we would respectfully request that you all give the residents a chance to renew it with another vote.
And it's a tax on, is it a property tax? What is the SBD? How is it taxed?
It's a special assessment on real estate.
Okay, and so this is to renew it for another 5 years, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn it over to the committee for questions. Alderwoman Boyd.
No questions.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. My only question is, what do you all consider the accomplishments that you all have made? And I'd just love to hear a little bit more. We have a new SBD in one of my neighborhoods, and I think everyone's always trying to learn from what other people are doing.
Thanks, Alderwoman. I'll speak a little bit to it just as being a resident for 18 years, and I'll turn it to Brian Malone after I give it, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
So from the time I first moved in, a number of residents and also some very responsible landlords who owned a lot of rental property, I got to hear a lot about it, and they all said that it really led to a real sense of security. There's a lot of sort of folks of all different socioeconomic backgrounds in the neighborhood, and it made it really a safer place to live. And it helped with the other efforts to combat vacancy. So, with the extra security patrols, they were able to sort of keep their eye on some properties that were real problems. So it's really been a help to the neighborhood. Brian Malone, who I stand here with, is a neighbor. He's a new president to the board, and we now have sort of a whole new board with younger residents and homeowners who really are sort of taking the torch further. Brian?
Thank you, Tim. And thank you, members of the committee. I'm here to speak in support of Board Bills 39 and 40. My name is Brian Malone. I've been a resident of the Gardenside subdivision district since 2019. It's the neighborhood that my wife was born and raised in. I was appointed by the Board of Aldermen to the Board of Commissioners last year. Had my first meeting with the board in January, and then I was appointed as the board's president at the meeting in March. In my day job, I'm an attorney at Lashley & Bear, where I represent local governments, cities, school districts, library districts, and I'm committed to making sure that the district is run the way I want all my clients' organizations to be run. So to answer your question about what accomplishments we've had, I've only been involved for a few months, but in that time we have established new and updated bylaws. We've entered into a new contract for security patrols. As Tim indicated, we have 4 new members. We have an invigorated board. At our first meeting in January, we realized we didn't have a lot of time to get the reauthorization of the tax that funds the district through. So we feel like we have a lot to accomplish in the next 5 years, and that we'll build on what we've done in a short period of time. So I would ask for your support for the bills. And there is also an amendment that we proposed to Board Bill 39 and 40, and that just adds the election date of November 7th. We had worked with the election board. We weren't sure when this bill was initially filed, when we'd be able to get on the ballot. So I'll be happy to answer any other questions you have.
If I might, one other thing I'll just mention is that they work best when they work hand in hand with the neighborhood association. And so relations with the neighborhood association are key and have been key over the past, since the existence of it. So, the neighborhood association helps support in many other ways, and this is sort of just an additional component. And with good communication between both, we're able to address all sorts of challenges and also help just sort of the quality of life in general within the neighborhood.
Well, thank you for sharing. Those are all my questions.
Okay. Alderwoman Saunier.
No questions.
Alderman Aldrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm just curious, where is the boundaries of the Gardenside subdivision?
It's, basically, it's
On the mic.
right around Missouri Botanical Garden. I think I'm loud enough you can hear me anywhere. I've been shouting in a bar for all my life. But the specific boundaries is a Kings Highway to 44 to Tower Grove, or is it?
Avenue and then
Magnolia. So it's basically everything surrounding Missouri Botanical Garden, or as we like to call it, Shaw's Garden.
Got it. No, outside of that, no other questions.
All right.
Okay, thank you. And with that,
Can I ask just it's not a question.
Vice Chair Boyd.
I don't have questions, I just have comments, because I'm listening to you, and you said that you work closely with the associations that's surrounding it.
Well, they're part of the Southwest Garden Neighborhood Association.
Okay.
And Southwest Garden, basically, that takes this portion of their neighborhood, and then that travels across and goes up to Hampton Avenue. It follows Southwest Avenue to Filer. So it's a very large neighborhood association, but this is a small part of that area.
Okay, and then interesting when Tim said that you all target quality of life issues. And so, and I'm saying it's interesting because we've been fighting for that for as long as you all have been in that community, if not longer. So that's interesting, that's what was said. And so the residents over there are okay with what you're doing and continuously keep doing it. Okay, so what changes have you seen since you all have taken that piece and started, working in there?
Well, I think it's really helped with vacancy because it helps lead to greater investment and individual families taking a chance on a neighborhood or on a property that maybe, you know, needs significant investment and significant money to come in and fix it up and to live in it. And so we've had a lot of success stories on that over the past 20 years.
Okay. And then.
That helps everybody, you know,
Okay,
all the
right,
neighbors.
right. It's
yeah.
a holistic approach. And then the safety, how is that approach?
So there's contract for secondary within the district, and it's a somewhat modest amount, but, you know, part of it is you know, it's south of Southwest Avenue, and it's kind of a triangle that's almost like it's something that everybody would just drive past, and it would almost sort of be forgotten, and that was the big impetus of why it originally went, you know, there originally was neighborhood support for it.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of streets that aren't through streets. But, you know, without having a little bit of secondary, it's sort of,
Okay,
you know, nobody pays attention to it.
okay, all right.
Rasheen does? Thank you. Alderman Aldridge?
Just to follow up after Alderwoman Boyd, when you say secondary, I'm just curious, is that like St. Louis Finest, or is it,
Yeah, currently, it's the city's finest is what one of the contracts is, but it's, every year, there's a new one.
got it, thank you.
With that, with no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion on Board Bill 39.
Okay, now, do I have to add the amendment before?
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so we've got this amendment before us. I'll entertain a motion to put amendment number 1 to Board Bill 39 before us.
This simply establishes the election date of November 7th, I believe.
I move to adopt Amendment Number 1 to Board Bill 39.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Boyd?
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg? Alderwoman Schweitzer?
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanier?
Aye.
Alderman Aldred?
Aye.
Chair Spencer?
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg? We have 5 aye votes.
Okay, we've adopted amendment number 1. And is there any further discussion on Board Bill 39?
No, I close and ask for your favorable consideration to this bill.
I will entertain a motion to pass Board Bill number 1 as amended with a due pass recommendation.
39.
39.
Board Bill 39, did I say 39?
39, yes.
Oh, Board Bill 39, excuse me. I will entertain a motion to pass Board Bill 39 as amended with a due pass recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Previous roll.
Hearing no objection to previous roll, but Board Bill 39 has passed with as amended with a due pass recommendation. And now,
Board Bill 40.
now we can consider Board Bill number 40, Alderman Volmer.
Okay, that's 40, not farty.
Farty. What did I say?
No, it's fine.
gonna say
That's the old St. Louis. Where are you going? I'm heading down Highway 40.
Farty. I haven't had
got my
enough
knife
beer
in my
this morning
fart.
to start calling it farty.
All right, Board Bill 40 is simply a companion bill to Board Bill 39 regarding the special business district. And there is also an amendment for the election date on Board Bill 40.
Okay.
Basically covers the same criteria we have just discussed.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt amendment number 1 to Board Bill 40.
So moved.
Second.
Previous row.
Hearing no objection to previous one, we've amended Board Bill 40. And with that, do we have any further discussion on Board Bill number 40? Alderwoman Boyd?
No.
Alderwoman Schweitzer?
No, thank you.
Alderwoman Saunier?
No.
Alderman Aldridge?
No, sir. No, ma'am. No.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to pass Board Bill 40 as amended with a due pass recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Previous row.
Hearing no objection to previous roll, Board Bill 40 as amended has been passed with a due pass recommendation. Okay.
Thank you for your time and consideration. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Much for coming.
You know, recognizing that we have the a budget director here, and he has spent so much time with us already, I didn't realize that you were sitting here, Paul. Otherwise, I would have maybe considered Board Bill number 1. Are you okay to sit? But I just want to be respectful of your time. I had mentioned we would have these other board bills before us, but I really don't want to make you sit here all day. Well, yeah. Say it again.
Is the Board of Elections come? Oh, whatever.
Thank you, Paul. Well, yeah, okay, thank you so much. We have now before us, I will hear item number 4, Board Bill number 50, Alderwoman Tyus.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Madam Chair, members of the committee. Board Bill number 50. First of all, I want to apologize for not being here the last time. Just got my signals crossed. That's not often. I'm pretty good about showing up for committee hearings and on time and even early. But Board Bill number 50 is a compensation plan for the license collector's office for the next year. I do want to point out that I think we're going to need some kind of committee substitute. If you will look at page 5 of 9, there is a strikeout that was not removed. And so we need to do a correction to that. The first, the first line, first paragraph, effective July 1st, 2022. All of that is struck out all through to the second line. It goes through.
Alderwoman, I'm looking at Board Bill number 50 as we have in our Google Drive.
And it's not there anymore?
I just see Board Bill 50 combined number 2. Where can we find the cross-out sections?
Oh, that's page 5 of 9. It's on mine, so maybe they gave me a different.
I see it. It's on 5.
5 of
Again?
9.
It's on page 5.
Top of the page, line 1, paragraph 1.
Striking out the effective date.
Correct.
Combine number 2 in the drive.
Okay. So, Alderwoman, that's an amendment?
And I'm hoping it can just be a friendly amendment because I just recognized that it was crossed out and that's no longer effective. So yes, we would need an amendment so we can have a committee substitute, either one. But I'm hoping I don't have to reduce it in writing because it's just that line 1, paragraph 1 on page 5 that has to be removed.
Okay, so how would you like to proceed, Alderwoman? So I think what we have is just this one strikeout.
Correct.
In the entire bill.
Correct.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is consider, can we, Madam Clerk, can we consider this a committee substitute with this friendly amendment of a strikeout? Okay, so.
Do we need to suspend the rules if we have a committee substitute that wasn't in front of us 24 hours in advance?
It's not, so we'll do an amendment. Jeffrey Boyd did that years ago, and it doesn't really work, but okay, we can just do an amendment, and it doesn't have to be in writing. It can be a friendly, but it still will come out as amended, okay?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, just not a, otherwise, I mean,
Otherwise
we
a
could do a
committee
committee substitute, we just have to suspend the rules if it's not before us 24 hours.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so I think what we'll do is consider this a friendly amendment. I will accept a motion to put before us amendment number 1 to Board Bill 50.
So moved. Second.
Yeah.
Is there a request for previous roll?
Previous roll.
Hearing no objection to previous roll, we've adopted amendment number 1, which consists of a line omission to page number 5 of 9, line number 1. Okay.
Actually, it's line 1, and then it goes on to sum the first word of line 2.
And the first word of line 2. Thank you.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, so now that we've got the amended version before us, Alderwoman Tyus, if you could please give us the broad stroke of what we're considering here in Board Bill number 50.
Board Bill number 50, again, is the compensation rate of the certain employees of the license collector. It will address those who get promotions, those who may take a demotion, starting salaries, appointments, reallocation, and transfer. And it's basically their salary budget for the next year.
And are there any increases that we need to be aware of, or decreases, or changes in personnel?
That would be determined by the license collector. She can come in and talk to you about it, but she is here if you need to speak to her. Do you need
I think if we could just have a broad overview on that and whether or not this has a fiscal impact on the budget as we are considering it in Board Bill number 1.
I don't think it does because they just have to submit this to us as a requirement, but the budget is something different. But if you would like to have Madam License Corrector come up, she is here prepared to speak to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Alderwoman. Yeah, I think if we could just have a clarification, it would be helpful. If you don't mind introducing yourself.
Madam Chair and committee, I'm Mavis Thompson, License Collector for the City of St. Louis. This pay bill that we're presenting before you is a perfunctory type thing because we are a city, not within a county, and I'm a county office holder. Also, our office is a fee-based revenue-generating office, which means that we don't receive 1 penny from the city of St. Louis. All of this that is in our pay bill is actually from state statute, which allows us to keep a small portion of each license to run our office. And so that's what we're doing. And now the specific question was, have we made any changes with staffing or increases? Yes, we have made changes in staffing and increases, but due to COVID, we've had a lot of turnover. You know, we were part of, just like the city of St. Louis and every other company in the world, we've had a lot of employee turnover. And so where we started out last year with 35 on our rolls, we are down now to 28. And so we're trying to work. We just hired a new hire. She just started on Monday. Not Monday, was a holiday, Tuesday. And then we also have 3 retirees that came back to help us out during this busy season. As you know, this is our license renewal season right now. So yes, there have been changes to both.
Thank you so much. If you could just give us a broad, you know, like we just considered 3% increases to all city employees, and if you could kind of make it just a general comparison for your office, just for the general.
Yes, we don't have enough money to do a 3%, and we're not obligated to do it being a county office. So our office will not receive a 3% across the board. No, ma'am.
Okay. I will turn it over to the committee for questions. Vice Chair Boyd.
No questions.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you. Are you doing any amount of raise for your employees?
Myself. Yes, ma'am. We do raises based on their annual, and I hate to say evaluation, but, looking at their performances every year. And so we look at our raises. And Madam Alderwoman, we were the first ones way back in the day to go to $15 an hour before anybody did. And so we can't do market price raises, but we do as much as we can. And then also in our pay bill, we have certain state holidays that are added that allows them to have days off with pay.
Thank you so much.
Alderwoman Saunier.
No questions.
Alderman Aldridge.
No questions.
Okay, with that.
Be a co-sponsor.
Sure. Madam Clerk, would you please note that Alderwoman Boyd would like to be added as a co-sponsor?
Noted.
Okay, so with that, with no further discussion, I will entertain a motion to pass Board Bill number 50 as amended with a due pass recommendation.
Madam,
Oh, excuse me, yes.
But
Did
you
wanna
closed
so
for me. You did such a great job up there.
Alderwoman, my apologies. Would you like to
that's all
close
right.
on Board Bill
No,
number
you've
50?
done such a great job. I just renew my motion that you pass this board bill out with a due pass recommendation, or my request rather, not motion.
And I will entertain a motion to pass Board Bill number 50 with a due pass recommendation.
Second, previous row.
Hearing no objection to previous roll, Board Bill 50 as amended has been passed with a due pass recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, I apologize for not being here last time.
No problem, thank you. And with that, seeing our election board stepped out to make a small change to the bill, we will be considering Board Bill number 1. I believe our budget director is on his way back down. And so considering Board Bill number 1, as you all know, we all received, does everybody have the bill in front of us? Let's see, I have several copies of Board Bill number 1. Have one? Those are the bills. Okay, so Board Bill number 1, as we all know, are the city's budget. We have this committee has spent an enormous amount of time going through the departments and considering the needs of the city. I, again, want to commend the committee for the due diligence that we really undertook here to go through the city's budget so thoroughly, recognizing Ryan Coleman, our financial analyst, who did an incredible job helping us parse through some of these things, and of course all the city departments that came before us to present their budgets. And although he's, I think, probably in the hallway on his way down, the budget director did an exemplary job putting the budget together and really helping us parse through everything. Paul, we're thanking you for your service here as our budget director. We, as a committee, made, as we know, 2 recommendations to the Board of E&A. They considered them yesterday officially and have presented us back with their recommended amendments to the bill, which does, I'm happy to report, include the 2 recommendations from this committee. They've also included a few other amendments, some of which were identified during our hearing process. So again, I want to commend the committee. I think our due diligence is obviously really paying off here. And going through, if we want to take a look at page 1 of the summary of the E&A response to our committee here, we've got the 2 requested traffic division, street division, the light poles and the pothole fund as well. We've got some additional, as the committee may remember, it was identified that the mowing funding for Fairground Park was not fully addressed. This now has been addressed. The Human Services Department is looking at a receptionist position. That's item number 4C. There's also some moving around to accommodate an accountant position in Human Services, a reduction in our Public Safety Department to accommodate, and just some general moving around for the accommodation of those funds. If the budget director wants to come before us and kind of explain, generally speaking, how he feels about these, kind of how this meshes with a balanced budget, that would be a welcome explanation.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. As the chair just indicated, the Board of
Sorry, Paul, you do have to identify yourself to the folks at home.
Yes. My name is Paul Payne. I'm the budget director.
Thank you.
The Board of E&A met yesterday to consider this committee's request for additions to the budget. And as the chair had reported, there were 2 items related to the traffic division and streets division, $200,000 for light poles and $200,000 for street repairs. And so what we did at E&A was we found a reduction in the citywide accounts. One of those would be unemployment comp. That goes up and down depending on how the budgets, how the economy's working. In some years, it's as high as $400,000 or near $500,000, which is what we had in the budget. But the last couple of years has been tracking lower, so we thought that was a reasonable reduction we could take. And then the assessor's office, assessor subsidy has revenues, is supported by revenues to the office as well as a subsidy from the general fund. However, in this current fiscal year, they've been underspending because they had some vacancies, so we figured, in projecting that one out, it looked like they had sufficient funds there, so we were able to reduce that by $150,000. So that funded the 2 items that this committee requested of E&A. Now, through the process, there are a number of other items that E&A approved as well. Some of these are just changes to the personnel schedules which don't affect the budget at all, and some of them are, as the chair indicated, some items that came up in the discussions here, as well as some other newer items. I'll go through those. Item 2, the comptroller's office had some switching in positions there. Again, not a budget impact. I believe this came up in committee, item number 3, Soulard Market. That position title is Soulard Market Manager, not the other manager, so that was just a technical change there. 4A, 4B, and 4C, those are the items related to the contractual mowing. I remember the Parks Commissioner saying they didn't have sufficient funds for Fairground Park mowing and a per-performance messenger position. And Human Services, they had an accountant position which was filled, which was funded in a grant, which was they needed to find, which has done other responsibilities in the department, so we needed to find a place for that. So those 3 items were added back into the budget, and then the reduction was that line item in Director of Public Safety for the contractual services of about $150,000. Going on to the next, 5A, 5B, and 5C, there were some changes in the health division. As you recall, one of the requests they had was for a receptionist position as well. What they ended up doing was swapping out some positions so that to minimize the impact on budget. And you can see that they added a health service manager, a receptionist, and deleted a public health program rep. And that increased that budget. And then they had a reduction in the 719 community health and deleting a health services manager to offset that. And there was also another change in of adding a health services manager, deleting a public health nurse, and that had no impact on budget. One item, the equitable relief utility tax fund, that's actually an item that is for utility assistance, and that was actually, it was not even included in the original request. So that was something that was omitted that needed to be added back into the budget. That was at $300,000 in the miscellaneous special funds. CDA also added a number of positions and deleted a number of positions and offset some increase with a reduction in professional services, and that was a net zero impact on their budget. And then the health department also had some 3 positions that were grant funded that were not included in their original request that were restored to that particular grant fund. And then the big item there, on the last one, item number 9, the Airport Commission, they had just issued a new bond issuance this spring in 2023. They had not included those payments, that interest and debt, in the budget. The revenue's fine and it's there, but they did not include the new debt service in their budget, and they said they got communications from the director of the airport says we needed to include that. So that was the $4,981,000 in interest and principal payments. And that is the extent of the changes proposed by ENA.
Okay, thank you so much. With that, I'll turn it over to the committee for questions. Alderwoman Boyd.
Hello, Paul.
Morning.
I wanted to ask, because I was curious, because the commissioner said that they didn't have the dollars for forestry for the private contractors. In the other parks that we have private contractors in that are cutting those parks also? That's supposed to be cutting those parks, that's what I put it. Because it's my understanding, North Riverfront, they're supposed to have a private contractor.
Yeah, I believe when just based on my recollection of the Parks Commissioner's testimony, there was specifically, they had all of them covered except that one, which was Fairgrounds, and they needed the $50,000. And that's what this is restoring into the budget.
So do we know how many parks are being covered? You don't know?
Yeah,
off the top of
I
your
couldn't
head.
tell you off the top of my head, yeah.
Because I'm just kind of concerned, because if we're paying the private contractors, and I'm figuring, is that already calculated in their budget? Because I heard you say that they were short for Fairgrounds. So when they do their budget, is all that already calculated within their budget?
Typically what they would do is they look at a lot of it's per performance staff and look at that, and then they say, okay, based on what we have, we also, whether it's for the amount of funds they have or the inability to hire folks to do the work, they supplement that with contractual services. And so when they looked at that whole picture, they said, okay, we need another $50,000 in order to ensure that we've got the contractual service for Fairground Park. That's my understanding of how the commissioner presented that.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. This isn't something that we recommended, but it's something that we discussed a little bit, was the trimming of trees and cutting of trees, and you and I talked a little bit offline about other options. Can you illuminate kind of other places to find funding for that piece?
Yeah, as we discussed earlier, in the last couple of years, what we've done is when we had supplemental funds, and we probably will have some supplemental appropriation for capital. I think originally it was about $3 million, 3 years ago, that we added $1 million for a citywide. This is separate from that ash tree removal process, which we always include in capital, as Alderwoman Boyd, you remember. But then, and then I believe there was $1 million also included in one of the more recent ARPA capital. I forget which board bill number that was.
I think it was last summer.
Yeah,
I feel like
they may have been. So those two, that was $1 million shots. So I've been thinking that the best shot we've got, if we need additional funds for that, and again, there are a lot of capital needs, but would be with another supplemental capital appropriation, which we hope to have later this year.
Which we'd know after the end of 2023 fiscal year.
Yeah, you're not going to know that until later. So I would probably expect sometime in the fall, you might have a good picture of where we're going to be with that.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's something we should definitely prioritize with how many trees there are that need trimming and to be cut. So,
yeah.
Thank you. That's my only question. Appreciate it.
Alderwoman Saunier.
I don't really have any questions per se. I just really to me, this was a great first experience. When we made the recommendations, I wasn't sure if they would honestly be taken, but I was like very happy and pleased when we got the email saying that the recommendations were taken. I think that's an excellent model of collaboration and just showing, that the work we've been doing here has been heard and that the concerns, make sense. So I'm just really thankful to you and the rest of ENA for hearing, our concerns and our recommendations, especially because I didn't formally make the recommendation for the Public Health Department, but I know I was really uplifting that and advocating for that. So I really appreciate that being taken in and those adjustments being made to our budget.
I appreciate the comments. Yeah, and now I know this was your first one, and I will tell you, it doesn't always work out that way. There are other years when you're struggling and say, hey, we can do this, we can't do this, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Alderman Aldridge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know, next time we have a committee hearing, so I'll do what I usually do and say I'll follow up with the Alderwoman from the 7th Ward, but no, also really, thank you, Paul. You've been very helpful to this Budget Committee. Appreciate the chair, and also want to thank the Madam President, Madam Comptroller, and Madam Mayor, as they call it, SHE&A, for working with this board and allowing our recommendations to go through, and look forward for more collaboration. I think it's beneficial for the city of St. Louis. This is what people want to see, as the board and all these different entities working together. So thank everybody.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, I want to echo that. Paul, thank you so much for working with our Board of ENA to make sure that we can get these adjustments made. I also want to commend the Board of ENA for hearing not only the recommendations that we formally put forward, but as the Alderwoman from the 7th pointed out, those issues that we in the committee identified through robust conversations and in-depth kind of looking at the budgets in the departments and uplifting those things that we felt were important. They clearly not only heard our recommendations, but the work and the deliberations that were taking place here. And I think, as the Alderman from the 14th pointed out, this is a good work in collaboration, and I think this has made some significant impact on our city, and I really commend all of us for the work that we've done here. I especially want to thank our clerks today for making sure that we could get this before us. It was no small feat here this morning, so thank you so much for making sure that we can now entertain a motion to to pass amendment number 1 to Board Bill number 1.
So moved.
Second and previous row.
Hearing no objection to previous roll, we have now adopted amendment number 1 to Board Bill number 1, and I will now entertain a motion to pass Board Bill number 1 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
So moved.
Second, previous row.
No objection. We have now passed the city's budget, Board Bill number 1, as amended, with a due pass recommendation to be considered by the full board tomorrow. Congratulations, Budget and Public Employees Committee.
Thank you.
Okay. We have just one more item on our budget, and that is Board Bill number
64.
64, Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you, Chairwoman Spencer. I do not see Director Borgmeyer back in the room yet, so I'm worried he might not be ready. If it's possible to entertain a 10 to 15-minute recess.
Do you think we could text him?
I did text him. I have not, he said he's working on the amendment that he needs, but he hasn't been able to finish it yet. So I do know we need to pass this bill in order to stay on the calendar to get it out before the budget goes into effect. So I don't want to delay if possible, but I understand that. Oh, he's right here. Is he ready? Did I? Okay.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Say that again.
You say I look good today? Is that what you said?
She said excelente.
But you know what, Ben?
say
You look
today.
good every day. Every day.
He said today, not today,
She was
Ben.
like, he acted like you
Right.
shaded me.
He's about to come for you.
Right.
Every day, Ben.
Really great.
I just
Yeah, because I was going to vote no, not to go to recess. I was going to be like, they out of
What
luck.
is this question? This is 64.
All left. Does this affect our budget? No. You know, the board of election needs employees because
Madam Chair, can I approach for a second to ask you about the bill?
Sure, yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
I got another committee at 11.
Oh, do you?
I'm just saying.
Personnel. All your good shit's gone.
You can, but let me,
Come on, Ben. You gotta be more prepared.
You know me.
I know.
Ben, you want to come over here? They're recessed, so we're not on camera.
Page 64?
No, Bill 64, page 4 of 7. I'm working, I'll, get, I need a. Thank you, committee.
Boo.
I hear ya. Sassy, don't mind him.
Yes, I'm telling you, I was in La La Land. I was like, I'm confused. Yeah, and so when I asked Tony, said, Mom, that's Carol presenting the bill. I said, and so somebody said,
13.
I said, I close my face so good. I said, 'cause what are we doing? I just got out the.
It's actually really poorly done.
I said, I'm this bell, I saw rifle. So I had a horrible accident on Goodfellow and Martin Luther King. Guys had a stolen car, hit this lady's right side. The lady, thank God, you seen Kennedy? She got minor injuries. But Harry, they jumped out the car with a solid and ran. I was like, this is crazy.
I'm in here, he calling me now. Miss Kennedy.
Yes.
Hey,
That's what I'm
Miss
saying. I
Weiss,
was like, this
she
is
has to Board Bill 64, the agenda that she brought in. A mistake on Board Bill 64.
Cause you didn't know what was going on. Yeah.
And she's trying to
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I just have to drive slowly. Yeah, I have a resident, she said, oh, woman, it's 4 or 5 in the corner with a salt. She said, right there in Iraq. Yes. And that's why I said, if we do initiative, ballot initiative, what the rest
Miss
of us
Schweitzer,
do.
Yes, ma'am.
are you just gonna make the correction, correct? Because you don't have to do an amendment. You can correct it, but no amendment is not needed if it's just a Scribner error.
Well, it's entire section that was incorrectly added to the bill that doesn't have anything to do with this
It was
department.
I was like, well, am I crazy? When I saw that, I'm like, what?
yeah.
I know it. I went over, I was like, oh, this is vomiting. This is just.
So then it's 2.
With that, we'll take up Board Bill number 64, Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, can you please read description of Board Bill number 64? Summary.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Board Bill number 64, introduced by Alderwoman Ann Schweitzer, an ordinance relating to the appointment of and salaries of certain employees of the St. Louis Board of Election Commissioners, the Election Board, pursuant to 11.045 and 115.049 Revised Statute of Missouri, by repealing ordinance number 71513, allocating certain other employees to a grade with rate and including an emergency clause. The provisions of the sections contained in this ordinance shall be effective with the start of the first pay period after approval by the mayor.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. As she just read, this is the pay bill for the Board of the Elections Commissioners, the Election Board, and I do have Director Ben Borgmeyer here to speak if anybody has any specific questions about the bill. I appreciate your patience taking a small recess to get an amendment ready for a part of the bill that isn't related to the election board, and I think was just a copy and paste error when the bill was getting put together, which is, I should have had an amendment ready earlier, and I apologize for that. But I do have amendment number 1 to board bill number 64 if you want to consider the bill as amended. Should be in front of everyone. I have a copy, Madam Clerk.
Oh, I do have that, thank you. Okay, I will entertain a motion so board bill amendment number 1 to board bill 64 simply corrects a pasted aspect of the bill. I see that here. I'll entertain a motion to adopt amendment number 1 to board bill 64.
So moved.
Second.
Previous roll.
Hearing no objection to previous roll, we've amended board bill number 64 with amendment number 1. Alderwoman Schweitzer, if you don't mind, just from a broad stroke, the payment, this is the pay bill for the election board.
Yes.
Can you describe, generally speaking, raises, changes, blah, 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 as we've kind of discussed with other bills?
Thank you so much. So this bill, similar to so many of the other bills, does provide employees with a 3% raise as city employees are getting. That is the biggest change in this bill. For anything else that's a big change, I'd love to defer to Director Borgmeyer, if appropriate. He might need to get sworn in.
I think he's a city employee, aren't you? So you don't need to. Yeah, well, do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you so much.
Always.
All right.
So other than the 3% raise, there's no changes in the bill as far as the previous board bill we had in effect.
Excellent. With that, I'll entertain questions from the committee. Alderwoman Boyd?
No, I just want to be a co-sponsor.
Co-sponsor Boyd.
Noted.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Yes, I'm sorry, that was totally by habit. Alderwoman Saunier.
We look alike.
Yeah, it's the S in the last name. Spencer Saunier Schweitzer.
I do have some questions. Some are not specific to the bill, but are just general questions about the Board of Elections. I don't know when you'll come before us again, so I'm just going to use this time to ask.
Invite me anytime, but I'd be happy to answer.
Okay. So my first question is just about, I know that you all were in the process of purchasing new voting machines and things like that. Have you purchased them, and are they operational?
So we did purchase them. They were delivered on actually Tuesday, so 2 days ago, and we are currently doing the acceptance testing of them. The first use of those voting machines will be in the special business district election that's happening this coming August. But yeah, so we've spent, I believe it was around 1.7 million of that ARPA money on the voting system that will be functional for the city of St. Louis. There's other uses for that money as well, but that's the first component of it.
Okay, and then my other question is around steps that we are taking to ensure accessibility to our polling places. I know we have the curbside system where folks can pull up and vote that way, but I did see some other challenges, so I'm just curious, are we thinking about anything we can do in that area?
We've been involved in a years-long ADA project that has involved surveying of polling places, and so we're in the process of trying to implement issues that we've noted in those surveys to try to make polling places more physically acceptable to voters, accessible, I'm sorry, to voters. It's a huge project. I mean, there's, as far as the infrastructure of St. Louis City, there's a lot of older buildings we have to utilize for polling places that voters have been voting at some their entire life. Mm-hmm. So we've been working on that aspect of it, and also too, with that new voting system, it is a vote anywhere system, which would make, rather than the precinct-based voting, it will be just any St. Louis City voter can vote at any St. Louis City polling place. Through that, I mean, possibly identifying the best polling places, the things that are most accessible, making the public aware of those, and trying to increase utilization of those places.
Am I understanding right that you're saying that potentially we move to a system like they have in the county where they can vote at any polling place?
Not potentially, it will be happening. And so, there's no citywide election scheduled now until August of '24, but the system we have purchased and the system that we implemented will allow for citywide voting.
That is great news. And then my only other question is, I know you guys were given funds through COVID or ARPA for equipments. Was there any other funding that you were given, or are there any other things that you think could help us with, voter engagement or turnout being higher with accessibility, or just, anything that you could use? I know we're not going to do it for this bill, but just for my own knowing.
Well, with that ARPA money, we have intended some of it to be used for voter outreach. Because of the new system, I think the public should be educated on what the voting system will look like and how it will possibly affect them. And through that, between now, especially August of '24, to use that time in the build-up towards the implementation to, not necessarily outreach, but that I think will be a side component of it as far as, just voter engagement in general.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the questions.
Alderman Aldridge.
Thank you. Sorry for being a little tardy. I didn't for the recess. Thank you, Democratic Commissioner. Director, for being here. So just since I came a little late, this is just a pay increase bill, 3% for employees.
Correct.
Okay. Will this pay increase bill help? Because I know you guys are always operating on low amount of staff. Will this, do you believe pay increase be able to bring in more people? Do you guys have room for that?
Honestly, I don't know about that, and I don't know if you have time for this discussion or not, but as far as the city of St. Louis, the pay bill, our pay bill is we're 2 years into it. And so, pay bills as far as civil service and other departments of the city have existed, forever. And so those annual step increases that other departments have gotten, there's a period of, say, a decade where we did not receive step increases. So we are behind other election boards. And so recently a change in state law was passed that allows, previously you had to be a resident of the county that you lived in the city, that's the city, to work at the election board. A change in state law has now allowed that for, a St. Louis City person could work at the county board, vice versa. So there could be possible competition between staff. As far as an analysis of that, for example, I make $85,000 a year, approximately. I can't remember what I make. But that's what my base salary was when I started. It's increased a little bit since then. The directors in St. Louis County, it's a much bigger jurisdiction, but they make approximately $135,000, right? So if you think about that, as far as what that gap is, and so say we have an operations person that we like and is good, now there's competition that's open. So maybe, this pay bill was just to piggyback on the civil service raise. But, I do think there could be a time and a place to come back to you in a more, evidence-based manner to try to discuss that. But I do think this definitely helps. I know that I got words from people I work with to say thank you to Alderman Schweitzer and doing this. So I think it will help in short term.
That's good to know, because I know, I think our election board, they work real hard and severely understaffed like most employees. So glad to see this is coming, and I hope with the pay that it will bring people in, because I know there's been some issues where, like in recent elections, where things have kind of slipped under the table. And
I don't know what you're talking about, but
yeah, right. And we only talked about it forever, but I appreciate it, and also appreciate how accessible you've been when it comes to the polling locations. As a committee man, you've always said, hey, we want to make sure we have more accessible ADA locations. Please let me know. We'll send a team out to see if it actually works for the team. So thank you, and thank the Board of Elections.
Thank you, Alderperson.
Okay. With that, if the Alderwoman would like to close.
Thank you so much, everyone, for hearing this board bill, and thank you for your patience in that short recess. I appreciate any consideration you all can give to a due pass recommendation to Board Bill number 64 as amended.
And with that, I'll entertain a motion to pass Board Bill 64 as amended with the due pass recommendation.
So moved.
Second. Previous row.
The previous roll, we've passed Board Bill 64 as amended with the due pass recommendation.
Thank you so much.
And that dispenses with item number 4. We have no resolutions, no committee discussions, and no announcements.
Motion to adjourn?
Excuse Tom?
Oh, sorry.
I'll entertain a motion to excuse all the aldermen from the 3rd? From the 2nd. Was there? Is there a motion?
Poor Tom.
Second.
Is there a request for previous roll? Hearing only mild objections to request for previous roll, we will excuse the alderman from the 2nd. And now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Previous roll.
Previous roll. We are adjourned.
I was like, use the gavel.